The night was warm, and Misoma stood on the hotel balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. The streets were alive, but inside, she felt empty. She was here for work, attending a conference that had drained her, yet sleep wouldn't come. And then, there was him. Obinna, a colleague. A man who made her heart race in ways she didn't expect. Confident, charming, and dangerously tempting. He was married, successful, and carried himself like someone who always got what he wanted. Misoma had always been disciplined, keeping work and personal life separate. But tonight, as Obinna leaned against her hotel room doorway, his gaze intense and inviting, she felt herself slipping. "We shouldn't," she whispered. "I know," he said softly, stepping closer. "But that doesn't make it any easier." His scent was intoxicating, his presence overwhelming. Her heart pounded as she fought the pull between desire and conscience. She thought of Akin, the man waiting for her at home. The man who had stood by her through everything, who loved her without question. He trusted her. One moment of weakness. Was it worth losing everything she had built? Obinna lifted her chin, his lips just inches from hers. Their breath mingled, and for a second, the world faded away. But then, she stepped back, her voice firm despite the turmoil inside. "I can't," she said. Obinna studied her for a moment, then nodded. A small, understanding smile crossed his face. "I respect that," he said. "More than you know." The night stretched long, filled with silence and restless thoughts. But temptation wasn't done testing her. The following evening, the conference hosted a gala dinner. Dressed in a flowing red gown, Misoma couldn't deny the way Obinna's eyes lingered on her, nor the way her skin burned under his gaze. He found her after dinner, handing her a glass of wine. "One drink," he said with a teasing smile. "No rules against that." She hesitated before accepting. Conversation flowed easily, their laughter filling the air. But as the night deepened, so did the intensity between them. He reached for her hand under the table, his thumb tracing slow circles against her skin. "Misoma," he murmured, his voice low, filled with a quiet longing. For a moment, she let herself feel it, the pull of something forbidden. She imagined the what-ifs, the stolen kisses, the tangled sheets. The thrill of surrendering. But then, her phone buzzed. A message from Akin, "I miss you. Can't wait to have you home." The fantasy shattered. She withdrew her hand, setting the wine glass down. "I should go," she said, standing. Obinna sighed but didn't stop her. "You're incredible, you know that." She smiled, walking away with her head high, heart steady. That night, she didn't lie awake with regret, only relief. Misoma's decision to walk away, to resist temptation, felt like a small victory. But as she boarded the flight back home, she couldn't shake the memory of Obinna's lingering gaze, the warmth of his touch, and the pull he had on her in ways she couldn't understand. Akin was waiting at the airport, his smile wide and genuine. He took her in his arms, and for a moment, everything felt right. He was the man she'd chosen. The man who had always been there. And yet, a part of her still ached from the encounter with Obinna, from the life she could have lived in another world, one where she didn't have to choose. But as Akin kissed her forehead, that ache began to fade. She had made the right choice. She loved him. She had to love him. Didn't she? That night, as they lay in bed together, Akin's breathing steady beside her, Misoma closed her eyes. And for the first time in days, she slept deep, uninterrupted, without dreams of what could have been. But even as sleep took her, she couldn't completely silence the whisper in the back of her mind.